Good morning, everybody. All right, and I know I've got to mute my video. Mom's got to mute hers. Here we go. All right. So we have Kimmy online. Good morning, beautiful soul. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Jill and Kimmy. And you guys, if you haven't gotten you some coffee or whatever after I kept you guys online, go ahead and fix you some. Hey, Lynn.
Morning, Lynn.
Because I wanted Casey. This is his ministry.
This is our ministry.
Well, you're still the head of it, and so I told him, I said, I want you to go on live and, hey, Anna.
Hey, Anna.
And make the introductions and, but I would like you to pray over us, Casey. Let a few more people get in and pray over it for me. You guys, as I got to looking through this, because so much has happened when Casey said we was going to do this. I have not been able to sit and look through this syllabus, the Christian Womanhood syllabus that I did. I'm excited. I went in and started telling Casey different things. I said, oh my goodness. And I said, I am getting excited. I mean, because this was literally when I was about 33 years old that I went through this. Oh, okay. I know. Let me go. Let the nurse in. My friend. I love this beautiful friend.
I got it.
You got it? Will you fix my tea when you're finished? Hey, honey love. Okay. All right, you guys. I talk to you guys in the mornings, just about every morning, except weekends.
Morning, Jennifer and Julie.
Morning, Jennifer and Julie. And you know what? I'm kind of intimidated because what? It's 11:05. And Jill, I have missed you. I have missed you, Jill. I really have. Did you call me? No. I'll let her in.
Good morning, Misha. I think we forgot about old lady dog.
Glory. Come on.
Oh my goodness, Kimmy. Well, Kimmy, you know, if you had one horn and were purple, this would make sense.
Okay. Let me see. Who has anybody else slipped in, Casey? Okay, you guys. I'm excited about this, but at the same time, I'm kind of intimidated. I don't know why, because I talk to you guys all the time, and I'm just me. But it's a lot easier to sit back and have Casey read and discuss things because he's so eloquent. And I'm not eloquent. I'm just the real Southern mama just talking. But So Casey, do you think it's time that I need to go ahead and go over what I'm going to do?
Yeah, go ahead and go over the syllabus.
Okay. I'm going to just, well, pray for me first. Pray over me. Hi, Adam.
Hey, Adam. All right. So, you guys, we are going to go ahead and pray over today's lesson of sorts. So, bow your heads and close your eyes. Dear God, thank you for bringing us all together again today. Lord, I pray that you open our minds and really help us to absorb everything that we are to go over today. Lord, I feel like the women of the Bible are really underappreciated. We know about Mary, who is probably one of the most important people in the Bible, and we know about Mary Magdalene and Jezebel. Lord, all three of them are notorious and infamous and famous in their own aspects, but Lord, there's so many more women of the Bible that have contributed to the foundations of our faith. Lord, I pray that you just guide my mom's mouth and help her to get out there what needs to be said, Lord, and to go over the syllabus and stir up within each of us a need to discuss people of the Bible that's not really talked about. Lord, we give you the honor, glory, and praise for all that you've done and all that you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And let me try to put a buffer between us and the dog. Okay, this syllabus it was prepared by our pastor's wife, and they had a Christian college at the church that I went to. They also had it was Temple Baptist Bible College, and the children went to the school. Thank you, Jill, and all of you guys. Casey, you want to lock it on me? Okay. So, and this is when she gave me a Bible, because one of the things it required was the King James Version. And at that time, I had a New International Version. Good morning, Tara. And so, anyway, she gave me a Bible, and it was a large print Bible. And it meant a lot to me because in it, it was given to her when her and our pastor was sent to Papua New Guinea for their missions. And so, the dedication was in there from one pastor to her. And then when she gave it to me, I wrote the date and everything. And that's what I used at church because that's what they preached from. All right. The introduction is defined defined as Christian womanhood. So, you know, anybody that would like a mailing of the syllabus, or even beforehand, let Casey know, and all he will have to do is copy it, and he can email it to you guys. So, Christ is the pattern to be followed, and keys for success. That's knowing and understanding God's plan. Part two, the ideal woman, and she is in Proverbs 31:10 through 31. She's called virtuous, and I'm just going through this. We will start taking it apart and going over Bible scriptures. I just want to let let all of you know. Yeah, let you guys know what the syllabus looks like. I mean, is. So page 2 of the lesson 1 out outline, description of good or virtuous woman. Now I'm going to read these. Will you fix me some tea? You guys, Casey's having to tell me to breathe. He knows I'm real nervous. All right, and I will show you. I had all these notes, you guys. I mean, I soaked in so much because that was Casey was real young, 2 or 3, and it was on Tuesday nights, and I was able to get out of the house and be able to focus on scripture, because when you're a young mom and you've got children, you go to church and then you're having to get the children home.
Why is it not locked on you?
I don't know. Oh, okay. Okay, Jill. And you guys, whenever I'm finished with this, I will go back and look through all the chats. And so, okay, one thing that reached out to me on this, and I highlighted it because I've always seen my own shortcomings, even though my husband did not. And he looked at me that I didn't have issues or problems or struggles, because he always said I was a great mother, a great wife. I was a great Christian woman, is how so he did not see what I saw in myself. So it says a description of a good or virtuous woman. Number 1, a commendable wife and mother. 2, she lives for her home and family. 3, she is constantly industrious. 4, self-disciplined and orderly. You guys, I highlighted that back then, and I put beside it, needs much work. So at that time in my life, I knew I needed to be self-disciplined and orderly. A sharp businesswoman. She has good refined tastes. She manifests the grace and hospitality. She is charitable in the time of need. She is virtuous because she is spiritually minded. And that is just the highlight of what we'll be touching base on. Hi, Todd. And Darlene. Yes. Casey, Jill said she would love she would love the syllabus, and anybody else, let them know, put it in the chat, put it in comments, and And yes, I need some Todd too. Just let me know when you're gonna be going live. Okay, so then it's going to go into the second lesson was the mother of and her problem. Eve is the first that they're going to mention, and it talks about her in Genesis chapter 2 and 3, in 2 Corinthians 11:3, and 1 Timothy 2 and 3. And it's going to cover her shortcomings and what she faced. All right, and this is in here, just where a poem somebody wrote, and I'll read it since it is in the actual syllabus. And I guess it was from in her Bible. It says from the fly leaf of my Bible, and it is entitled "God Leads." He does not lead me year by year, nor even day by day, but step by step my path unfolds. My Lord directs my way. Tomorrow's plan I do not know. I only know this minute. But he will say, this is the way by faith, not walk ye in it. Today is enough to bear, and when tomorrow comes, his grace shall far exceed its care. What need to worry then or fret? The God who gave his son holds my moments in his hand and gives them one by one, and it's the author unknown. And that is what I'm going through now. I'm living for him to guide my steps, and for some reason you guys are in my steps. Well, there's questions that are asked, and it's, do I have problems with other people? Because, and there's 1 through 15. Here is the solution to my problems. A set lifetime goals for the Christian wife and mother. And you guys, this is from a Baptist church, just so you know. This is then we will go to Sarah, the mother of nations, and God said God's woman in spite of herself. That will be in lesson 3. And there's like 3 pages, per lesson. Then we will go into Mary and Martha, and it says the M&M syndromes. I like that. They were the sisters of Lazarus and Bethany. Of course, we know Lazarus, Jesus raised from the dead. And I will say this because they tickle me. Martha's the eldest. She was more practical than spiritual. Mary, everlastingly remembered. So we'll learn from these sisters when we get to them. Then we will go to biblical examples of Christian hospitality. Elect Lady and Great Woman of Schumann. Those are 2 famous nameless women, ladies. It tells what is an elect lady, and then it's going to explain, the difference of the 2. So they're not named, but they're important. There's plenty of scripture to go along with it. Am I doing okay, Casey? All right. And then the Christian home. Those 2 will be Eunice and Lois. They're remembered for unselfishness. And it says the mother and grandmother of a famous evangelist. And they're mentioned in Acts, Second Timothy. So, and then it'll go in and tell a Christian home in Genesis. It'll go back to Genesis. You guys, okay. I'm doing okay then. I'm trying to contain myself because looking back at this, I'm really getting excited. Even on this, it says 5 things that make a home. True love. Number 2, family altar. Number 3, constant Christian living. Number 4, tactful authority. 5, loving obedience. And 5 things that break a home. Thank you. 5 things that break a home. 1, selfishness. 2, intemperance or lack of self-restraint. I circled those, you guys. I did. When I circle things, those are the things that at the time I felt like I needed to work on. But I had 3 children. I had, during this, Casey, I had a stepdaughter. We were going through a lot of custody stuff, but she was living with us. And Tiffany she was the middle child. And then Casey was my rambunctious, about 3 years old. So temperance and restraint, self-restraint. Any of you that have chased children around or have 3 or more children, and if crickets in here, any of you, I know a lot of you have many children, so you can understand. Number 3, disloyalty. And I wrote out to the side, be loyal to husband and children. And that was to myself. I wrote that I need to stay loyal to my husband and children. Number 4 is misunderstanding. And this is 5 things that break a home. Number 5, jealousy. Jealousy, I wrote out to the side, is as cruel as the grave. And I did put, if Christ is always the head of the home, it won't break. And I also wrote, for me to look back on, and as I looked over these things, when I studied them on my own, number 1, I put, do the members of my family have confidence in my Christianity and respect for my testimony? You guys, as a 31-year-old woman, 32, 30, in my early 30s, those are the things that was so important to me. And number 2, can they see Christ in me? I'm not going to cry. You guys, this is what the foundation of my heart was. As Casey started this, and all of you guys as you guys have listened to him, so many times I would hear him say, my mom did this and my mom did that. My mom always did this. Well, as a very young mother, those are the things I strive for. I didn't strive for money. I was satisfied. When I lost my job, you know what? I quit using my dryer. I hung my clothes out on the line. I found ways to help. So the things that matter to me were the very things that I just read. So that's in lesson 6. That will be in lesson 6. And then lesson 7 will be on conscience. Rebecca, if you're out there, yeah, Rebecca. Rebecca, a woman of contradiction. She's mentioned Genesis 22. She's mentioned in Genesis 25, 26, 27. Her character, the bright side, the dark side, the bright side, spiritual, the what they call dark side is the flesh. You know, we all struggle with spiritual and our flesh. And so we will get to that as well. And then I'm telling you guys what we're looking for, what we're going to be looking forward to. Then we'll get to, in lesson 8, the victorious Christian life. Phoebe, the encourager. And then Job's wife, the discourager. And I don't remember Phoebe, so I'm going to get to find out who Phoebe was. And we all know Job's wife. But she stuck with Job. So I do have to say that. And I didn't make notes on those. All right. Number 9, Mary, the woman honored above all women. And under that is what to do when life gets hard. It will tell her family connections. It will tell her supereminence. It will tell her selection, her submissiveness, her service. It's going to tell her later years and tell what to do when life gets hard. So it's, somebody said this morning in my channel, we don't know the middle parts of Jesus, his life. But, think about it. Do we really, what's mentioned of Mary's, the years from when she had Jesus, and then, of course, when she had to see her son crucified. So this is going to go to the scriptures that point her out. All right, and then the second syllabus is going to be life, and it's going to be Deborah and Lot's wife, and it will give definitions of life. It'll give the dictionary, and then it'll tell the origin of life. But we will hear of Deborah. And then there will be lesson 2 of syllabus 2, 3 women from the church of Philippi. Is it Philippi? Philippi. And becoming one with other believers. And this one, I was reading it to Casey. It tickled me. I highlighted because there was a breach in the church. And it says what caused the breach between these two, we are not told. But I highlighted a thing, and I'll read what I highlighted. It will be letter F when we get to it. He warns there is no time for bickering, and such conduct does not become a Christian. And then I highlighted, forgive like God forgives. Forget it too. Not only forgive, but to forget it. That I highlighted because that was me as well. Then do they interrupt when others are speaking or encourage others to speak? I highlighted another place in that one. Those who do not love the Lord may not help you to be a good Christian, and that will be in John and Proverbs. So these are I'm highlighting things that we'll get to. And I think it's going to get to Bathsheba. I just saw. All right. Um, Hannah and Salome, and that was developing greatness and self-confidence in your child. So it will tell who Hannah was, and it will tell who Salome was. And I hope I'm saying Salome's name correct. All right, Salome was a woman who wanted the best for her sons. She was a wife of Zebedee. We did read about her then, the wife of Zebedee. And Hannah, she was a prayerful mother. She was the wife of Elkanah, and her sorrow were her children. Was her children. She later became sorrowful, and as well as anybody that has children, again, we understand sorrow. Whether it's our children's health when they're children and we're raising them, as mothers and women, we carry a lot of sorrow, whether anybody sees it or not. And even if you don't have children, if you have siblings or you have friends that have children that you love, you carry sorrow. And then my favorite, somebody asked, I'm sorry, trash can behind the door. Somebody asked me what was my favorite book of the Bible. They asked me this earlier this morning, and I told them the book of Ruth. And then she asked me why. She was new to my channel. And what I told her is because it reminds me of, I always said, me and Francis was Ruth and Naomi. And, you know, it was Naomi was the mother. Naomi was the mother. So Naomi told the two daughter-in-laws to go, and because it was when their husbands died, it was their culture, you remarry or find another brother. There were no other brothers. And while they were young, she said, go and find husbands. But Ruth stayed with her mother-in-law. She loved her mother-in-law. And even at that early stage in my life, I loved my mother-in-law, which is Mama. So that is why I love the book of Ruth. I love the story. I love the story of somebody loving their mother-in-law, which becomes your mother when you get married. And that was always mine and Mama's. I used to tell her, you can't get rid of me. Then next will be Priscilla and Aquila becoming one with our husbands. And will be in syllabus 2. You know, I didn't highlight this, but this is something good to throw out there. Lesson 6 in syllabus 2. It says biblical submission. We think of submission in many different ways. And it says here, submission encourages love. Love encourages submission. Now, number 1 point says, and it says it is not, and that's all caps, synonymous with spinelessness. Let me get me some coffee. I am going to reread that. Submission. Hard thing for women to hear because it was pushed down. A lot of women's. You got to submit unto your husband. Biblical submission encourages love. Love encourages submission. Our children were to be submissive, but it is not synonymous with spinelessness, lack of character or conviction, lack of spiritual initiative and enthusiasm, or a failure to establish specific personal goals. It is an attitude before it is an act. It is developed through the years with practice, patience, and the power of the Holy Spirit. Now we're talking of a spiritual submission. We're not talking of an ungodly submission of someone being hurtful. Then it is for a wife to genuinely desire to please her husband and to make him happy. It is unconditional and based entirely upon the command of God. So this is what God leads us to. Okay, Misha said that word submission is a trigger. I like the word respect better. That's how it translates to me anyway. Respect is compromise, in my opinion. And see, submission has been used, and yes, it is a trigger, Misha, because it has been used in such a bad way, and that's not the way, God intended. And it is intelligent and voluntary. And now, I know a lot of you, a lot of women I know this is going to touch on, but this is different things now, and we have open discussion, Misha. You know what? Just like when we do any church, and we'll get to these and open dialogue with you. It requires prayer and wisdom from God. Refusal expresses a lack of faith in the Lord to do right. Refusal to submit to the authority of my husband is a failure to understand myself and my own needs. Following God's plan for my life will make me happier as a person and as a woman. Now, you guys, and I think that is the point that yes, men used to, when we would get into the thing about submitting unto your husband, I always would say, you got to read the rest of it. Husbands are to love their wives like Christ loved the church. Christ gave his life for the church, which is us. So our husbands are to love us with all of his heart. I found that. It took a second go around, but I found that. And I am blessed. And many times within our marriage, because he is such a chill now, but a lot of people did not understand when I would tell them that my husband is the head of the household. And as my daughter got older, she did not like the whole part that to answer to anyone. and that she's never wanted to have to answer to a man. I have two sisters that felt the same way. You guys, I as a child was the one that wanted to do everything for my dad. So it come from that. I guess my spirit, even when I was younger, was a giving, a nurturing. I did things for my husband because under God, I worship my husband. I mean, I worship God, but the love I had, even when we were 10 years into our marriage, you guys, the love I had for that man is stronger now, but I loved him with all my heart. So I tried, my best to be a wife that he's proud of, and he told me he always was. And I can't wait to read the comments, you guys. All right. Esther and Dorcas. Okay. And this will be how to put your faith into action. All right. And Dorcas, the Hebrew equivalent is Tabitha. So I think I'd rather be called Tabitha than Dorcas, but that's the person's name. So we will learn of Esther and Dorcas. We will learn of Miriam and Sapphira, the works of the flesh versus the fruit of the spirit. Miriam, I remember her in the Bible. She Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And Sapphira, oh, she dropped dead. We will get into why she dropped dead. Oh, I remember now. She lied. She lied. She had deceit in her heart. But Miriam was the sister to Moses and Aaron. And bless her heart, Miriam, she did sow some discord between the brothers, and it will be in there. And that will get on jealousy. So let me see. That might be. I guess I typed up my answers at the end of all the tests. And you know what? That will be what, okay, yeah, that will be the syllabus. So anybody and it also has other things in it as well. Poems or, different things. So today I kind of just wanted to overview to see if you guys, if you're interested. Let me see what Dwayne said. See, Blandine, the stories. Jill, with me and my husband, we handled things on a different scale. My husband handled things like I was raised, like he was raised. I taught my coffee cold, you guys. That's my saying. What I did, because I was raised by my parents, you do as I say because I said so. You don't ask questions. I used to never know why. I wouldn't understand why I was in trouble. I would not understand why I was taught to. So it was just because I said so. And in my days, and I'm a child, I was born in 64. So Misha, I do it all the time. I taught my coffee cold and my tea warm. But You respected back then. You respected your uncles. You respected any adult as authority. But in my household, my dad did not explain. It was you do not talk back. You do not ask questions. You say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. He'll give you one time if I didn't say it right, but I always did. Um, if I just said yes or no or yeah, what did you say? And I had that one time to get it right. And that's how we were all raised. Then, Keegan was raised the same way because his parents was raised that way too. So I always wanted to explain why. Uh, Jill, thank you. I am no makeup. I'm tired eyed today. I cried a lot yesterday, but thank you, Jill. But I wanted my children to know why. So my daughter got to the age about 7 or 8. She had rather me, Mom, please just make me do something. Just quit talking to me. She appreciated it later as she grew up, but she'll say, Mom always explained what I did wrong. Keevan was because I said so. I don't have to give an explanation. I would explain to the kids later if they come and ask me. And there was sometimes I didn't know why. There would be a time my daughter, when she got to be a teenager, she thought the guys just thought of her as another one of the guys when she was in ROTC. And they wanted her to hang out, ride to the lake, and there'd be 4 of them in there. And I'd love, no. But Mom, why? No. But Mom, why? I said, it just does not look proper. I'm sorry. I mean, but they don't look at me that way. I'm just a friend, Mom. Nobody looks at me like that. They all think I'm just a guy. And I finally just say no. And that was when Tiffany was about 15, 14, 15, something like that. She was in high school. And she did not learn the deep meaning of why that bothered me until last summer. And then she had oh, Mom, I didn't know that happened. Now I understand so much. Um, yeah, Jill. So as the kids grew up, I would always have discussions like I'm talking to you guys. And that's what Casey told me. He said, Mom, just talk to people like you always talk to us. And that's what I do in the mornings. You guys have all blessed me. You guys have brought me out of a shell because now I'm not going to break out with this little light of mine like I did one day. And you guys are a blessing to me. Casey starting what he did was a blessing to me. And it brought me out of my room, and it brought me that's the part I love, Paula. Casey's talking about Mama's nurse Paula. She wants to come by one day and sit with me and us discuss. I'm reading Cece. My kids were allowed to come to me if they thought punishment was unfair. Come to me to put up their argument and suggest yes. And I actually changed it. Yeah, I mean there were times that I would think about it. Now, if Casey, that mama was having a bad day and it was that time of month, and I was so sorry for the way I acted, but I let him know the reason I was mean and mad. Oh my goodness, Blandine. You saying that. There was times that I would be like a mad woman. I mean, one day I was all over the house, picking up toys, cleaning the house, just angry, just aggravated. Nobody cleaned up. And when I got to my living room, there sat my husband holding Casey and stepdaughter and my daughter. They're sitting there just looking at me. And I stand there in my living room, which was across the street. That was our first home we bought, was across the street from my mom. I'm standing there looking, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I bust out crying because so I started Blanding telling the kids. I explained to them early on, I'm sorry. And I would tell them, it's that time of the month. That's no excuse. I'm sorry that I yelled at you. I'm sorry I acted like I would come back and tell them. So, Blanding, we're all here for a reason. And, you know, I would always explain. And I said this morning, and you wasn't in there, Dwayne, and I can't wait, like I said, go back and read everybody's thoughts. And if you don't want to do this on Wednesdays and you don't come on Wednesdays, I will not, my feelings will not be hurt, because as I was reading through some of this stuff, I was thinking, "Woo, this sounds like some of those hard teaching, that people don't like to hear about now, because it is 20 something years later, but it's still in the Bible. And I still want to be the woman when I'm in front of you guys, and I'm not in front of you guys, the same person. But I said this morning, Dwayne, if you're still listening, um, that Dwayne thinks I'm an angel, and I told him, don't ever put me on a pedestal, because the things that hurt me, or that I feel that is not in the right spirit, the situation that I went to yesterday to see my ex-sister-in-law that's dying, and I sit there and just talk to her about good things. Um, I was also confronted with other things. And I I had told Tracy, it hurt my soul, because I said, how can I be forgiving and honestly love this young lady that was a lot younger than me in my first marriage. She did sleep with my husband, but she was a kid. I didn't realize it then, but I love her. And um, and she was wife number 4. And I was glad to see her, and it was like seeing that child again. And I was accepted again, just like it was 30, 40, 35 years ago. They all said I was still family to them. And my sister-in-law, I just talked to her, and I kissed her, and Casey said, Mom, she did know you were talking, because her breathing, because she has a tube, she's the last stages of her cancer, and it's spreading to her brain. But the feeling I had for that woman yesterday. But then when another one came in that had done the same thing to me when I was married, my heart felt closed off. I felt I felt the difference in my heart being two pieces. I spoke, but I just said her name and kind of nodded. And you guys, and then, before I left, I gave my ex mother in law a kiss, and she's Mama's age. And then wife number 5, um, I was not very nice, I don't think. Casey, I think Casey, if you will type in there, if I was composed, um, there was something wife number 5 had did that did not sit well with me, and I handled it like in a different way a few years ago, 4 years ago. Um, I've been with Kevin 34 years, and there was no reason for wife number 5 to try to get in touch with me about my grandbaby. Kevin is the only daddy that my daughters had. And so I handled it 4 years ago on Facebook Messenger and just cut it real quick. So she went to stand up and extended her hand, and she said, I want to introduce myself. And you guys, I want you to know the real me. Casey tells you guys the real him. I looked at her, I extended my hand, and I said, yes, I know who you are. I said, and I shook her hand. I said, you're wife number 5, and I'm wife number 2. And, and then she sat down. She didn't even finish standing up. And my mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law said, yeah, one of many, probably be something like many more. And, she said, no, I'm the last one, and I'm crazy. I let my crazy show, and I'm meaner than the rest of them were. And I patted my mother-in-law, and I kind of laughed. I said, she just doesn't know, does she? And my mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law, she laughed. And then I told my ex-sister-in-law again. I looked at her where she was sitting. She was about 10 years younger than me. And I said, well, I'm going to go. And she said, well, are you coming back to see Wayne? And this is the look, and it wasn't being ugly. I looked at her and I said, for why? Why would no, I don't want to see him. Why? No, Rebecca, she didn't. She was just wife number 5 and wanted pictures of a grandchild that she had no business. He had, I mean, my daughter turns 34. So I've been with Kevin 33 years. She turns 34 at the end of this month. She was a year old when he walked out on Father's Day. She was just turned a year old. And what was told was you can just let Kevin be your daddy. This was what was said. And I said, okay. And that's what I told Kevin. And Kevin cried and said, I will be her daddy. And Tiffany was a year old, and he used to hold her on her lap. And, Kevin's real tenderhearted. But he would have tears, and he would look at her and say, how can somebody not want this baby? Yes, Father's Day. But so that's the man I married. And so, yes, I did look like that. And I said, why in the world would I want to see him? I came to see Lynn. I was so glad to see her husband. They've been married as long as me and Kevin's been together. And so wonderful. I mean, oh, he just greeted me wonderful. And, um, he gave me his seat, the seat on the left side, and I didn't realize that was his seat. He got up, he said, "Here, sit here." And I got to sit there and talk good times with, she couldn't respond really, but Casey said she heard me because her breathing, at different times would change. And me and her husband just talked like there was never a difference. He told me there were still pictures of me, and she never stopped loving me. So when the other sister-in-law walked in, she said, "Wait, she is in your, you let her sit in your chair?" And he looked, he said, "Yeah, she's family." And so when I left and I got in the car, I got in the car, and Casey, bless him, played gospel music. He played gospel music coming home because he knew what my spirit was like. And that's why I couldn't sleep last night. I just had a lot on my mind. And then I sick. I guess it's from everything of the day. But I told Casey, I said, Casey, how I love. I said, so how can I love this person with all my heart? And I had to hug her 2 or 3 times. Wife number 4. I hugged her 2 or 3 times. And I told her, don't let anybody make you feel bad. You're her little sister to her. Be there for him. Don't let anybody try to push you away because, wife number 4, there's wife number 5 out there too. And I hugged her and told her, you know, love you. If you need me, call me. And I said, stand straight. And when I got home, I sent, she told me she thanked me for coming. And I told her, I said, you stand tall. You stand tall. So you guys, that is what I struggle with. It's that remembering things that make my heart squeezes, not in a good way. And so that's my reveal, you guys. That is what I struggle with. Um, you know, nobody's perfect, and I tell everybody we all sin and fall short of the glory of God. My sin, you're not supposed to have anger in your heart. You're supposed to have forgiveness. And, 30 something years later, for me to look at one woman that slept with my husband and just look at her, because before I met Kevin and back before I got back in church, I beat the brakes off of her after I had my baby. When Tiffany was 9 months old, when I had proof that she had been sleeping with my husband, I beat the brakes off of her. Am I proud of that? I'm 50. I'm 54. No, I'm not proud of it. I was 21 years old, and I wasn't kind to the other younger one. But it took me years. That she was a kid. You know, this was a 15-year-old, 14, 15-year-old and he was 21. So that's why I can hug her and love her, because she was a child. And I have to forgive and in my heart love the other one. I did speak to her. I just said her name. And I don't know if Casey felt the coldness, because I don't think he really knew. But you guys, pray for me because I am excited about going through this and learning about the different women in the Bible. This is not going to be pushing, telling anybody you guys have to be submissive and let somebody beat you or cuss you or talk down to you. I don't think that's a submissive. I am, you guys. I am laying it out that is how I am. Um, but yes, once upon a time, and probably I've there is that fire in me, the double side. There's the fire of me that loves. I love Jesus. I'm not ashamed to say it. I get enthused and I get excited and um I'm not ashamed. I am not ashamed to say I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian woman. Have I in the past 5 years, well, let me see, I had my neck done about 7 years ago. I almost got out of my car at McDonald's. I just somebody was rude and said some things, and McDonald's has 2 lanes now, and for Casey and my cousin, and this was during Casey's time, he tells you guys potty mouth, anger issues, and my cousin ain't she'd say anything. That I had both of them looking back at me like, oh my goodness, Mama is going to take that huge what it was a heavy duty screwdriver or something. I was about to get out of my car, you guys. That's why I needed to get back, in the word, because when you get away, the world will, it's almost like what I posted, a sinking ship. It's the water coming in that sinks that ship. A ship is supposed to float, but when the water starts coming in, it sinks. And I started just saying, and just started telling people off. I had been submissive for so many years, and my kids liked it. My kids were glad, Mama, but there was still that part of me that didn't like it. I didn't like that I could just snap. I didn't like that I wanted to, if that girl got out and come to my window, that I would have went just snap crazy. And here I was, still not even through with from my neck surgery. But you guys, I'm telling you, we do. We all have that. We all wrestle with good and evil on an everyday basis. And anybody that gets up in a pulpit or they get on YouTube or they get on Facebook or they preach or you know, and if they tell you they are perfect, that they don't sin, they just did. Because it plainly says all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And so that is who I am, you guys. But when I was reading, yes, I was smiling. That's my happy. I mean, it just took me back. And, it took me back to when I was more in tune with what God wanted me to be in a wife. Because I was so angry for 2.5 years and could not understand why. that I stayed home. I cooked, I cleaned. I thought I was a perfect wife. I did. I never wanted to be anything, you guys, but a wife and a mother. When I graduated, of course, I worked. My goal wasn't to go to school, to go to more school. And I'm looking at you guys. My goal, what I wanted in my heart, was to be a wife and a mom, and to be the mom that my grandmother was to me. The loving, to show God and all that. That wasn't me the first go around. It was, but they made me into the person I didn't like. It made me into the person at 4 o'clock in the morning that I would go outside and be cussing and screaming because at 4 o'clock in the morning, somebody was just driving up, getting home. I didn't like that. I didn't. I did not want that to be me. I grew up like that, and um, I met Mama. Met Mama back there, and it gave me, after the third time that person walked out on Father's Day, I called Mama. That's the first call I made, and I was crying, and I asked her, could I come up here, and I come up here, and she and I went up to the lake to talk, and I asked her about a lawyer. And she said, don't do anything hasty. And I had never really talked in depth to Mama and said anything about my marriage, really. But I said, Francis, 3 strikes and you're out. This is the third time he has walked out. And I promised him if he ever did it again, there'd be divorce papers. And I told him that day. And so I told Mama. And that Monday morning, I went to a lawyer and I took my little bit of money I had to start it. And on that day, on June 16th of 1986, I became a single mom with only my income, without any help from him. But I had Mama. I had my father-in-law that was not even my father-in-law, you guys. That asked me, did I need a place to stay? That I could stay here. Now, this is just his wife's friend. I'm just this young 21-year-old friend of his wife from work. And he offered me a place to live. Yes, yes. You guys, that is me. That is my story. That's why I love the Crawleys, and that's why this is the Crawley Kitchen. Now, you guys, put the link in there. Um, there are 2 people going live today. There is, thank you, Tracy. Derek is going live now, 14 minutes ago. If you guys would just please put a link in there. His channel, I forget if it's his channel or Flipping Particles. Then at 3, you guys, oh, Casey, the other one, no, he's going live. He's live now. Adam, I'm sorry, Adam, if you hear me. At 3 o'clock today, Adam is going live, and he will have Casey, the rock star, something. So you guys, they support me in the mornings. They love me. They encourage me. So you guys show the love, and I will see you guys in the morning if you want to at 9 o'clock. And anybody that would like, you know, whatever we're going to be doing for the next week, let us know and we will get that to you. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming to the Porch Church Network. And I will see you guys in the morning. Bye.
Love you, everybody.